Memorial University, we were a powerhouse, the highest at the Division II level for basketball. And we were winning nonstop by a lot, and it felt terrible. And so that's when I started to realize burnout was creeping in. These are very similar to players. I actually think the mental load for coaching is a little harder than the players. And but people don't talk about it. Coaches also are insecure. Coaches also lack confidence. Coaches are also trying to improve. Coaches also care about what people think. Um, Coaches also have to manage a bunch of people. That leadership is hard. Sports.
I don't know how I start. Before I even get started, I always have to ask my guests, have you checked on you today? How are you feeling, Dave? Have you checked on you?
Yes, I've had multiple check-ins today. Right now, I'm in a great place,
Mhm.
and so I'm feeling good. Really excited to be here and connect with you as well as your audience.
Awesome, awesome. And also to the audience, as you guys are listening to, I want you to take a pause and check in with you. See how you're doing mentally, emotionally, and physically. That is the overall objective of this platform to make sure we are supporting the whole being of our sports leaders, especially coaches. But this amazing guy, man, I'm so excited to have him on. This amazing guy, I was able to connect through LinkedIn. Guys, get on LinkedIn. It is valuable and connecting with him, learning the amazing things that he do also within the sports spectrum that I've really been pushing to get into. He connected and we have just been peas in a pot talking about things that a lot of people don't talk about, which is the challenges and overwhelm of being a coach. So I'm not going to take all day trying to introduce yourself. I'm going to ask you, would you please, Mr. Cooper, introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so I'm a performance coach for college coaches. I help coaches win more and live better by mastering the multiple different areas that impact winning outside the X and O's.
Yes.
I was a college coach myself, super successful as far as wins and hanging banners and impacting young men and developing young men. Throughout my time in coaching, I realized two things. One, that my passion wasn't for basketball; it was actually for helping people grow um, and reach their potential and reach their dreams through the ups and downs of life and in sport. And then the second thing I realized was how important coaches are to success and how little support there is or space for growth and development for coaches. So I left the game and I took my strengths and my passions and mixed them together to create a space for coaches and to really help them for themselves, for their team, for their careers, all at the same time. And I'm a big believer that the game comes together when coaches have themselves together, and it's been a heck of a ride. It's been fun.
I love it. I love it. And as you guys hear, as he said, making that space, the same thing that we both are doing. And y'all could just hear too his passion of how I feel about it too. And we're going to get to that of just not having the support system fully for the coaches because that is so needed. But before we get there, because you said your passion for the game, so kind of tell the audience what made you get into sports. When did you start sports yourself? How did that develop?
I was always running around. We were outside at the. I grew up at a park and community center, so that was like the cool thing to do is to be involved in sports. I started at a young age, did every sport, gravitated to basketball because that's what I was the best at, and my friends were doing. Um, and then, basketball took off from there. I was really talented player, smart player, and kind of got a part of a youth rec center team that kind of kept me on the right path, kept my friends on the right path, and I saw really how powerful the sport was, and really was drawn to it. Just I love united pursuits and bringing all different types of people together, and no matter what's going on in the world, and coming together and chase something together. I love that part of sports, and I'm competitive. at everything I do. So it was a perfect fit for me, and loved it.
Great. Competitive. I think we all are in some form of fashion. Definitely love that part of it, of making sure. And in that competitive, how was it just playing sports? Because you said, you started at an early age and then you continue on. Were there any difficulties or challenges coming up playing sports as well for you?
Um, I was the only white kid on my team, so I wasn't as athletic and wasn't as gifted as some of my teammates. So that was definitely a challenge, and I kind of had to lean on my smarts. I also kind of was targeted on the other end. They would kind of go after me. Um, but as far as limitations, besides physical, I wouldn't say there was too much limitations. I think I had irrational confidence. I thought I was going to the NBA when I was just an above average high school player. Um,
I think that's all of us.
yeah, so
I'm five something, but you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to the WNBA.
yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to be drafted, probably top five pick, and I thought I could speak my way into a 6'5" figure. Um,
Mhm.
so kind of, but yeah, no, I don't know how many limitations I had as a player.
No, I think that is good. I thank you for bringing that up. Like you said, in between that time that you was the only white kid that was on the team, but still it was more of coming to your targeting, as we know in sports, and we're going to make sure clear if anybody listens to this and they say, oh my God, he was targeted. No, we're saying Mr. Cooper as a target as of you play sports. They're like, we're going to go toward that kid. That kid
Yeah,
may not have the best of talent, so we're going towards them.
yeah,
So you knew that. Did you take that as like, okay, a limitation, a challenge, or you say, you know what? I'm gonna go even harder to make sure my name be stood and known. Like, was that an extra push for you? Because you said you was competitive. Did
yeah.
they give you a push?
For sure. I think also I knew who I was with. I was with my best friends that I grew up with, and we were very tight. And so I think my confidence, I was a little chippy, and I talked a lot because I knew I
Hmm.
had some guys behind me that would back me up.
Come on.
So I think I took full advantage of it. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I welcomed it as well as enjoyed it.
Awesome. And from there, you played. You didn't end up, like you said, going to the NBA and becoming those. So, what led into coaching? How did you get into the coaching area, the coaching frame?
Yeah, so every coach I played for always said that you should be a coach one day. Um, and I didn't think you could go to college to become a coach. So I went to college just to get a degree. Didn't play in college, and over the summers I needed a job, and I actually started painting outside, like exterior painting, which wasn't it. It's not the move. And then one of my former AAU programs asked me if I would ever want to coach, and I didn't realize they were paying people. So I started coaching second graders, is actually how I started,
Oh, wow.
and realized I loved it. I was good at it, good at making up practices, good at adjusting, good at dealing with tempers, and especially at that age. And then kind of gravitated towards it. And then I went from just having a second grade team to running all the summer camps to having multiple teams to kind of moving up in the organization just through the summer.
Wow.
And then my senior year of college, I had a coaching minor, and I had to help out at a high school for a certain amount of hours. And I picked the best high school in the country, which was right down the street. Where they were number one in the country at the time, and had a bunch of NBA players. And so then I got around talent and was like, oh, I'm pretty good with talent too, or at least I don't get in the way. And kind of my career took off from there.
Awesome. Again, I'm going back to as we're speaking, but also speaking to our audience. And people know with me, I'm always remarkable. It's a thing to me. Shout out to Remarkable. Hopefully, be one of the sponsors soon. But I also take notes when people are talking as well on there. But as you guys are listening, hear how he started off. A lot of people feel like they're just going to jump into something, but everything has a story and has a level to it. You start off for something that you didn't even know it was going to be paid for. And so many people jump in and saying that, hey, I want to be a coach. I want to do this now. But you started, and from that start, it leveled you to so many other great things and becoming the man and the person that you are now because you took on something from what your coaches said and you believed in them from what they said. And it
Yeah.
led you to that. So running a whole, like you said, organization, that was a lot. You took on a lot. So from running those organizations, now we want to get into that. Like, when did the overwhelming and things come on? As you said, that being a coach too, and then we know this platform is about this, and we really want to get down about that. It's overwhelming, burnout, and so many other things come with being a sports leader or sports coach or anything on it. So when did you start kind of feeling that tilt of, okay, I love this, but this a lot?
Yeah. Not till I hit 30. Um, when I was young, I was running around. It didn't matter. When I got into college coaching, I you know was pure off adrenaline,
Mm.
and loved it. Loved every minute of it. Once I hit 30, my values started to change a little bit about what was important to me as far as family and life and kind of where I see myself. I was at the time I was at a really good college, and what kind of struck me was I was at a Lincoln Memorial University. We were a powerhouse, the highest at the Division II level for basketball, and we were winning nonstop by a lot, and it felt terrible. And so that's when I started to realize burnout was creeping in.
Wow, can you
Uh,
go back and explain that more? You said you guys was winning nonstop and it felt terrible.
yeah, so I mean, on paper, I had the best job there was. We had the best facilities. We had all the resources. I was the highest paid assistant in the region, and we were winning. We won 4 straight season titles. We made it to the Final Four. We made it to the Elite Eight. We were the number one team in the country when COVID happened and shut us down. Like, I really think we would have won a natty then. I didn't lose a home game in 4 years. And so, but it didn't feel good. You chase those for a long time, and we were winning. In 4 years at that school, I didn't lose a home game. One year we were winning on average of 27 points per game. Um, and when you win that much, it kind of comes with pressure of you get everybody's best shot. You got to be over prepared. People are looking at you, and so it was a lot. There was a coaching change that happened. I elevated roles into top assistant, and then just I thought it was the game itself, but I found out later that it was just kind of the internal stuff that I was adding to everything. And
And when you say internal, what do you mean more of the internal? Because, like you said, on paper, everything looks great, everything looked nice. So, can you remember some of the internal pressures that you was actually feeling
yeah,
from
when you have
those?
a 70 game win streak at home, every game is like, oh crap, we can't lose this one. It kind of gets to that point where you don't want to lose. Um, I was under a legendary head coach who moved up to the Division I level, and his assistant took over, and I got bumped up to top assistant. And there's already pressures there to win from the donors and all of that. They give a lot of money for the team to be good, so there's pressure from there. But the pressure from myself to don't drop the ball, don't be the people who take over and then everything falls apart. Outwork everybody. There's imposter syndrome of okay, you're the highest paid assistant in the league, you better prove it, and just a lot of internal noise that makes the job that's already hard even harder.
And you work with a lot of coaches, like you said, too, doing performance with coaches. And do you feel like a lot of coaches actually experience or have experienced this, but don't talk about it?
For sure. I don't think I think coaching, the mental load for coaching is a little harder than the players. And but people don't talk about it. Coaches also are insecure. Coaches also lack confidence. Coaches are also trying to improve. Coaches also care about what people think. Um, Coaches also have to manage a bunch of people. That leadership is hard. Sports and coaching is very weird. Well, leadership in general is weird because you're around so many different people, but you feel lonely.
And I can remember with me coaching, even though, like you said, it's the kids, it's the parents, it's everything, but you still have that ticking in your head. And we don't express or talk about it, but it's lonely because even when you're with a coaching staff, you don't know what level or what mind frame the other assistants or coaches are on too. So you like, okay, especially at a winning streak, you're like, I don't know if I should say this. They may look at me that way. Or if I don't do
For
this.
sure.
So if you can kind of expand on that, I would love for the audience to get more of that, especially for these coaches that are listening.
Yeah, I mean, there's even with the people that are on your team, you're in a little bit of competition. Assistant coaches, your job is to recruit and bring in players and prove your value. And naturally, the guy next to me is trying to do the same thing. And if he brought in three recruits and I didn't bring in any, you know, you feel it, and also as far as the one thing with coaches and staffs that I kind of realized working with them is that they all have similar perspectives, and so it's hard to pull out and look at the lens from a different view when everybody's thinking the same thing. Everybody's pissed off that this kid is skipping class, or pissed off that we're not boxing out, so it's kind of hard to get a different mindset around a group of five guys that you are talking with every day. It's very easy to get into that group think, and then you take on other people's stress and anxiety, either from your head coach or people around you. People are contagious. So, yeah, so it's very interesting. Yeah, for sure.
How did this also leap into your home? Because, like you said, that was internal. Internal, you're going through so many different things, not really knowing who or what to talk to or say about, even though you're winning. So you're showing up every day. So now going into the home, how was that effective?
It's another level of pressure, because you're sacrificing so much of your home because you're not in it. And that comes with a lot of guilt and like, sorry, I can't do anything for 6 months, 7 months. And so then you bring the job home, it's like they're already sacrificing a lot. And so that comes with internal pressure of guilt. And, there's a lot of stories of moms missing a ton, of moms in coaching missing a ton of stuff with their kids. That's hard and it comes with a lot of stress. But it also does come home, because that's kind of your outlet. And that's really kind of why I created what I do, because people think that, like, oh, I have a great support system, I have great people at home, but their job is to keep you standing, and keep you, you know, supported. And my job is to get you better, and it's not, they're already sacrificing enough. They're not trained, one, to help you get better. And then also, your significant other starts thinking about the same way you do. Like, oh, why can't that kid just show up on class? He's so selfish, this. And then you get that coming. So yeah, it's coaches definitely need a space for themselves.
Go back to the outlet of you saying your significant other in your family of understanding, because it was something small that you said that, your family is there to help you stand, but also they're not there to actually carry you, because we get that mixed up. And I've heard and spoke, one of our past guests, he talked about how his wife basically said, hey, I know you love coaching, but I need one day. If you can't give me two, give me one day where it's no sports, it's no basketball, it's no nothing, it's just our family. So they are there. But I think at some coaches, because of the pressure, and the word may not be well used, take advantage of it and say, keep doing and pushing because they're not saying anything. But just because they're not saying anything does not mean they're not feeling those things. If you want to kind of go in on that part.
It's tough. You're pouring your life into other people's children, and then you sometimes can sacrifice your own, which is very hard. It's a tough thing to do, and a lot of the times you go home to a significant other who's supporting you. They only get to have so much. And, you have to be able to turn it off and turn off a bad practice and turn off a bad game and not let it come home. And, I think the way you do that is, one, realize that you can do that. I think a lot of blocks is people don't think it's possible. And so just knowing that it is possible, that you can turn off. But what really helps coaches is, at the end of the day, coaches want to win. And to convince a coach that if you can completely shut off at home, not completely, but if you can work on shutting off at home and showing up in other places, it impacts winning. You'll be better when you're on the job.
As you say, inside out is a big thing of it. But why do you feel like, or why do your thoughts on coaches do not have the support system as student athletes with things of this nature? Because, like you said, you open that book for you, it was amazing. It's awesome. And you are not the only coaches that have felt this way. So why is there not bigger support system for our coaches on these matters?
It's new. Everything is new right now. And I don't think people realize how much coaches impact success. Coaches are always performing. When they're talking to somebody in film, they're performing. In staff meetings, they're performing. In the media, they're performing. They're always on. And so people need to start realizing that. One, I don't think people right now, the NCAA is geared towards the student athlete experience, which is super important. I mean, this is what we do it for, but nothing for the people that directly impact the student athletes experience. And so that's going to take some time and some change and a lot of work. But, our culture is kind of built like that right now. There's a mindset of work, and outwork and prove. And so it just takes time. I think with platforms like this and more people like us who are telling coaches it doesn't have to be this way and how it actually impacts winning and what you want, change will come.
Definitely, definitely. And what are some ways, as we're telling these coaches, hey, we understand, we feel you, we hear you, but what are some ways would you tell coaches to support themselves in this challenge and the journey that they're going through? Because you work with the performers, and again, you said coaches are always performing. Man, if that is not a word in a sentence, oh my gosh, it really is, because it's like anytime you talk to someone, you have to be on performance about things. So, what are some things that they can take away from this and say, okay, I know I'm performing, but how can I stop performing and just be me? Or how can I just ask someone for help?
Yeah, I think one way I frame it is there's 4 areas that coaches have to master outside of the X and O's that impact winning. The inner game, which is the mindset, the luggage that comes with it, the confidence. They have to master that area. They have to master the locker room, gaining trust and building buy-in, and a strong culture. They have to master the CEO level leadership of it. The presence when you walk into a room, how you're optimizing your staff, how you are, just your overall leadership presence, your executive skills there. And the last is game day, kind of how you show up. Are you composed? Does your behavior lead to winning? And so I think each person's different. There's not one thing that is kind of universal for everybody. I would evaluate yourself in those 4 areas and see where you come up short. I was a coach who, when I woke up, I had a huge weight on my chest, because I knew my to-do list. I knew there was fires to put out. I knew I had to start prepping and bring value right away. And I couldn't sleep at night as well. And one shift that I had to make was no phone, couldn't do emails in the bed, couldn't watch film in the bed. The bed was for sleep. So just it's very unique, and so that's kind of why I help people figure out what the problem is, and then we go from there. So like when I woke up, I stopped checking my phone right away. I had a routine. It was super small, but I brushed my teeth before I looked at my phone. And because when you look at your phone as soon as you wake up, you're behind in the day. You get all the box scores, the standings shift, you get the text messages of I forgot to turn in my homework, you get the emails from this kid's in trouble in class, you get everything all at once as soon as you wake up. No wonder you feel nuts in the morning. So that's just one. I would just evaluate where your challenges are, and then kind of just go from there. I had a coach who had people arguing on the team, and coming up with a way to get everybody on the same page. It's very unique. I think the overall message is we know ourselves better than anybody, and what got you here won't get you there. So if you if something feels off, something's got to change. As far as let me try this strategy. Let me go on a walk when I wake up. The work we do isn't about being a monk and like meditating for 2 hours. It's not. It's just figuring out the way you can operate at the highest level.
Operate at the highest level based on you and your needs. Because as you said, everybody is totally different on it. Some people probably can check their emails with first thing, and that was something that I started because I had a full-time job too, as well as I was coaching. So it was like if I looked at that phone, I'm looking at work emails plus the coaches things. So I too started to say, okay, I have a dedicated time that I'm going to look at everything, and I had to pull myself away from it. Not only that, I had to pull myself away from parents. And I know there's going to be a couple of coaches that are listening to this. I had to pull myself away. Early on when I was coaching, especially female coaches, I feel like we have to show the importance and value of us more than our male partners. So I was with a coaching staff that I was the only female.
Yeah,
So it was more of how do I make this work? I made better relationships with the parents. It was good in the beginning, but then it became overload because now the parents are like, oh, we can't communicate with her. She's going to answer our calls. She's going to talk to us. She's going to try to help put out the fires. And then it was me saying, you know what? Okay, I got to cut these
yeah,
relationships off.
for sure.
Out of practice, I don't have nothing to give you guys until the next day because I'm not going home at 10 o'clock. I still got calls going. So cutting a relationship, meaning in between my coaching time, was the time frame you can put in there to meet with me as a parent. Other than
Yeah,
that, I can't do it.
yeah. You got me hyped.
Yes.
Boundaries are huge, and boundaries think a lot of people. There's a misconception around boundaries that boundaries are confrontational, but they're not. Boundaries are just something that you put in place to help you function at a high level. Um,
Mhm.
and just to go back on your question about the shift or something all coaches can do, um, I think just realizing how important you are as a coach and how you show up is so important that taking care of yourself is a competitive advantage. At the end of the day, coaches want to win at my level. Coaches want to win and impact people. There's not that much money in it. There is, but it takes a while to get there. So coaches get in this game to impact people and to win. We're competitive and we want to impact people. So if that's really what you want, you got to figure out what will bring you that, and that's you being at your best. And what
Being
and
at your
what
best.
comes with that is setting boundaries, taking care of yourself. So just I think the to answer your question after thinking about it for a little longer is just to realize how much this impacts winning, and it's you can be more efficient with less, and there's a bunch of shifts that you can make that will help you show up better.
And one of the things that I really want to gear to as we near closing, you guys, as you guys will see, we're going in and we already capped up minutes of. I do know burnout was part of your decision when you stopped coaching. So, how was that decision? How did you have to make that decision, and how did you feel afterwards? I want to say that as we wrap up, because I know as a coach saying, I'm listening to all this. I've already tried the boundaries. I put all that out, but guess what? I'm still overwhelmed. As I posted yesterday, some of them are still saying, I'm so tired. I'm just overwhelmed. And they need to hear somebody to say, you know what? I was there and I left it and I'm okay now. So if you can just talk about.
Yeah, for sure. It was the scariest moment of my life. I I was around basketball my whole life. Um, it was successful. I was good at it. Never saw myself doing anything else. After I didn't become a player, I thought I would coach for the rest of my life. I It was before my last season. We were going in as number 2 in the country, and I was going home. I was exhausted. I was tired. The cons started outweighing the pros, and I was losing joy. I was masking it by, I'm love being around the guys, so I was masking it really well. And I kind of made the decision before the season, like, this is my last year. I'm living in a dorm room. I'm away from everybody. I miss every family event. My girlfriend then, my fiance at the time, was halfway around the country, and I was like, I want a family. I just felt out of line, and you feel it, you know. And I pushed through it for a while, but your body will stop you after a while. And A lot of tears. I didn't know what I was going to do, so I ended up saying, this is my last year. I'm gonna give this group everything I got. I'm not gonna tell anybody. I don't want my head coach to worry about me and my mental. I don't want my assistants to worry about me and my mental. I couldn't really talk to anybody in my coaching tree because we're all part of the same tree, and I didn't want them to let my head coach know. And I felt like I owed it to the players just to give them everything I had. So went through the whole year. Went to Won our region, so went to the Sweet 16, won our Sweet 16 game. I knew it was my last game. It was on my birthday. Um, and after the game, I was crying like so hard. Like everybody thought it was joy, but for me, it was like I had no one in the stands because it was away from home. Um, it was a next chapter of my life. I had no clue what I was going to do next. And I was terrified, and so we ended up going to the Elite Eight. I thought this team could actually win a national championship. Our best player got hurt. And so we went to the Elite Eight and got smacked on TV. We got killed. So my last game was not a good experience. But after I came back, I told my coach right away, I said, I'm getting out the game. Both of us tears. He's a great friend of mine. Told the team, which was the hardest thing. Had players crying, and didn't have a resume, didn't have any backup plan. Got out of the game, moved up to Michigan, didn't know anybody. Kind of started a new life. Hard pivot, and it was extremely hard. And But I took a lot of time. I thought I wanted nights and weekends, and then I got nights and weekends and didn't know what to do with them. And I still had habits of outworking everybody and wasn't used to slowing down. And I came from a job which was all knocking out tasks, and being productive to doing nothing is really hard. And so I pivoted, had no clue what I wanted to do. I ended up working with the team that I left because my coach was like, you're elite with the players. You should start doing this. So then got my coaching certificate, started working with the players, then started working with coaches. But it was hard. It was really hard. It was an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was becoming, who I wanted to become. I had to reprogram a lot of habits. And then I ended up creating what I needed. I created another thing that I needed. I created this platform because I needed it when I was coaching. And then how hard getting out of coaching was, people didn't talk about. And so I created an outlet for a group of former coaches. Former Coaches Connect. We meet once a month, and it's just former coaches getting together, talking about how they're doing, wins in their life, and just continuing a community, and as well as a network for when coaches do get out, that they have people that can help them, because coaches are so like the hardest working people in the world and are so impactful, and it's hard to translate that to the business world, but we can do anything we want. And so I know that's a long question.
No, I think those are great. And what provided was I got out of that coaches need coaches. And that's something when I'm talking to other coaches and building this platform, it's like, coach, you need a coach, because it's a point where you can't talk to everybody. And I want to go back to you guys when y'all was listening to his story. People that know me know that I'm an emotional ball. That's why I study emotional intelligence. But me of just wanting to drop tears or hearing him singing as a man. And you guys know I'm big on mental health and as men being okay to express their feelings, that he was boohooing crying because he knew that it was a transition time for him and he was going through this, but also understanding that his identity of, man, who am I becoming? What would I be doing from this? It's so much you wrapped up when you spoke of those different things that people don't talk about, especially as a man. And I commend you for that because it's a lot. And men, as we always say, wants to always wear that S on their chest. They want to always be that Superman to say, I got everything going. But it's okay to say, no, I don't. And you was able to tell yourself it's time for transition. But in between transition, you was able to be led to something else that you're doing that is just so beautiful. But you had to let something go. And letting go can be hard. And I know as a coach too, especially that I coach females, I felt like, oh my God, I let these girls down. I thought I was the super saver. I'm like, these girls need a pure role model of a female that's really talking to them. And when I let it go, it was like, where do I go from here? And I know some of the girls was mad, the parents were mad, but what I love now, I have the relationship that I built with those young ladies from elementary on up, that now they're in college and other places. They're like, Coach, thank you for what you told us back then. Coach, we see why you did what you had to do. Because yes, some of it was, the burnout, but it was the burnout with some of the coaches and parents too, where I had to tell them, it's a point of time in your life, you have to say no and you have to let go. And now they're like, man, we didn't know that.
I think it was for me the first time I made a decision for myself. Um, I think that's why that moment was so hard. I'm such a servant leader. I'm such a put people first. Um, yeah, and so just making that decision that like I'm out of alignment. I don't see myself wanting to move up. Um, I need to do this for me, and I believe me, I would give every kid a shirt off my back, like it. So making this decision for me, that was the first one I really had to make for myself, and that was hard for sure.
Man. Ooh, y'all hear the words of coaches talking, and especially for Mr. Cooper, of just, being on that collegiate level and still what he was feeling and what he was going through. As we gear up to wrap up, one thing I always ask the coaches and my guests to provide one play that you can leave the audience with that they can utilize. Your play may turn into more than one play because every play have other picks and goals to it. But one play you probably can leave to former and current coaches that are
Yeah,
listening.
one play I think for everybody. I know you have a pretty diverse following. Um, is just to turn. We're all big dreamers. We all have big dreams, and when you're chasing a dream, turn the shot clock off and focus on what matters. Um, you know, and just focus on getting a good shot. Turn the shot clock off. When if you're a high school kid and you're wanting to make varsity, or you're a freshman and you want scholarships, or if you're a coach who wants to be a head coach and you don't know when your time's coming, or if you're a business person, someone starting a business, that shot clock of when you should get what you want puts so much pressure and doubt and fears and it blocks a lot of energy of of you just focusing on your craft and showing up every day your best, and just taking little steps and counting your wins. Um, you know, everything that we want to do in life is hard. Um, and just putting a shot clock on it of when you should be somewhere. And I've done this for a year. It's not working out yet. Like, turn the shot clock off when it's supposed to work out. At the end of the day, I think it's the universe decides. And we don't really have control. So, just like when you were a kid, like, I remember when I was shooting at the park, I would count down like 5, 4, 3, and I would shoot and miss it, and then somehow there would be more time on the clock. So just add more time, turn the shot clock off. It just takes that whole pressure that you're putting on yourself. Just keep going.
Turn the shot clock off. I love people find you. How can they connect? How can they love on you, Mr. Cooper? Because I'm so excited to be connected to you.
Yeah, no, likewise. I love your movement, your passion, and what you're doing. I really do. As far as reaching out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Cooper Niemand. As far as Twitter and Instagram, it's at Coach Coop __. Not really big on Instagram, so mostly on Twitter. You can email me at Coach Coop at CooperNeiman.com. You can go to my website. It's CooperNeiman.com. I'm very easy to get access of. My passion is helping people. So anybody can reach out, especially coaches, but anybody. I'm an open book. I love paying it forward and helping people rise. I think life is tough for everybody, and we're put on this earth to help each other get through it. So anybody, use me as a resource. And just excited to continue to pour into everybody.
Yes, sir. Y'all heard it. And I will have everything dropped at the bottom, you guys, on how you can connect with Coach Cooper. And if you have any questions or anything behind the video, drop it in the comments. Let us know. I will make sure he gets to those as well and send it to him. But as always, you guys, y'all know it. Don't just talk about change. Be the doer of the change that you desire to see.